Hello, hello. I am back to do the Gemini full moon reading, and I'm filming it a little bit early, although I might not release it too early because I'm still working from my friend's wonderful creative space where we have had many a creative red tent filming, creative planning session, all sorts of fun things that she and I have done in this space. And um, that really brings me into this full moon in Gemini because Gemini is such a creative, dynamic space. So I just was trying to film and I had a bit of a screen share situation. So let's just see as I restart this if it works. Okay. So this is on the 5th of December 2025. So it is our last full moon of the year, as Gemini full moons generally are the last full moon of the year. And it is opposite the sun in Sagittarius. And as we know, Sagittarius is the sign that sort of takes us through to the winter solstice here in South Africa in the southern hemisphere, or the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. So we're hitting that solstice point, but that's going to be much closer with the next new moon in Sagittarius. For now, we're at 5 degrees. No, on the 5th, we're at 13 degrees for this particular full moon. So I think this full moon is another super moon. I didn't double check that before I started this recording, so forgive me, but I'm almost certain that this is either the third of three or the third of four super moons, super full moons that we're having. And luckily, Mercury at this point will be direct again. It is currently not direct as I'm filming this, but it will be direct by the time we hit this full moon. So, excuse me. So here is the moon up here. And remember that I set this up for my part of the world. So where you see this, like Gemini at the top of the chart, that might not be what you see if you were to set it up for your part of the world. However, what I prefer for you to do is to look at where is 13 degrees of Gemini for me. Does it touch something of mine? Is it a strong archetype for me? Like, I don't have anything at 13 degrees of Gemini myself, but I have something at 8 degrees of Gemini, and I have something at 26 degrees of Gemini. So I'll say, okay, well, I get that Gemini is a strong archetype for me, even though this one is not landing sort of directly on something. It's widely conjunct my Venus, so there's ways to read it, but I can feel that Gemini stuff because I'm very Gemini. So immediately the moon in Gemini is going to pull out my Gemini stuff in my case. If you are a Sagittarius and you have a birthday around this time, you might be feeling the tug of war energy that happens at a full moon in Gemini, where it's almost like the antithesis of you, and yet there's a similarity because any signs in polarity, in this case, we would be saying Gemini and Sagittarius being opposite each other, have this polarizing dual action around similar themes. So Sagittarius and Gemini are very much around information and education. Gemini being more early learning, beginner mind, my neighborhood and environment that is closer to me, my siblings, my cousins, my playmates at school, that sort of thing, or my neighbor. And then Sagittarius is broader. Sagittarius is higher education. Sagittarius is traveling the world, not just experiencing my own environment, but experiencing other cultures, other religions, other belief systems. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is big around belief systems and just big around being big, getting further, etc. So literally geographically further. People with strong Sagittarius will often travel to live in other countries or to visit other countries or have a spouse from another country or move to another country and live in that country and marry someone from that country. Like there is always this international feel to Sagittarian people. Whereas Gemini energy is much more like, how do I connect in my neighborhood? Remember that Gemini is an air sign. Sagittarius is fire. So kind of like wildfire spreading and exploring further afield. Gemini is an air sign. And the air signs are the people-y signs. They are humanly connecting. They are communicative. They are expressive. And they're always trying to connect. So with Gemini, it's like, let me go and connect with my neighbor and see if they have a cup of sugar for my brownies that I've run out of, or let me pop to my local grocery store, or let me pick up the phone and have a chat to my best friend who lives across the country or whatever it is. It's this connection, smaller details of life. It's Mercury ruled, and Mercury has just been in his retrograde, but at this point is not. So that's quite handy that Mercury is not retrograde during this moon because he's ruling this full moon. So let's look for Mercury on that note. And here he is, still in Scorpio. So remember, he managed to get himself into Sagittarius, and then he retrograded back into Scorpio. So at this point, I think he went, let me just double check. Hang on, we can pop to the retrograde charts, and we can see that Mercury went retrograde at 2 degrees of Sagittarius and went all the way back to 20 degrees. Okay, so let me tell you what that means. One moment. Okay. So he got all the way to 2 degrees of Sagittarius, and then he went back to 20. He's now stationed direct, and he's started his move. So he's the point at which they station is a bit of a slower cog turning. You know, it's like if you're speeding backwards and then you have to stop to start going forwards. You don't just speed backwards and then speed forward. There's that transitional time. Same as when it stations retrograde, it's driving along forwards. It can't just whip into reverse with no difference in speed. There's the slowing down and then reversing, and then you can gain speed in your reverse or whatever. So the stationing times with planets, all planets that are stationing retrograde, is always like tighter. So even though Mercury has already been, and now I've forgotten what the date of that is, 28th, I think, 29th of November. And we are now already at this point at the, did I say 5th? Gosh, my brain. Clearly Mercury is still retrograde at the time of this filming. So by this time, he's been direct for a week, theoretically, almost, but it's that turning tide. It's that turning tide. So the first beginning part of his shift back to moving forward is slower, and then he starts to gain some momentum. Okay, so he's not far from his stationing point. He's still in Scorpio, and Mercury in Scorpio is very, like, Scorpio is, as I always say, that microscope, looking down and in, going deep. So we have probably, with the retrograde having just we've been excavating some deep shadow archetypal traits. And as we are now in the post shade at this point, so the pre-shade is the 3 weeks before the retrograde, the post shade is like the 3 weeks after the retrograde. So it is our third pass now across the same range of degrees. And because we've been excavating, especially with Scorpio, because Scorpio is going to dig deep, we've probably pulled out some heavy stuff, some uncomfortable, shadowy stuff. And as we are still in Scorpio, that stuff is still present. But with the full moon in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, it might also be bringing some light, because full moons bring light, to something creative that might be the solution, creative solutions to the things that have been really challenging. So if we can sort of stay curious and stay a little bit open-minded, and because Gemini loves to learn new things. So think about this as learning new things. Think about it as a puzzle to be solved or a riddle to be solved, because that is very much how Mercury works. That's how Gemini loves to work. Like, oh, this is curious. This is interesting. How can I do something with this? You know, and that is very much, this moon is going to be pulling that kind of energy out. And also, of course, a full moon is sun and moon opposite one another in the sky. And when the moon is opposite the sun, she reflects the fullness of his light. When she is at 90 degrees from the sun, you see half the moon is a light. And then the full moon is a light. And then last quarter moon, the other half of the moon is a light. And then obviously the various crescent and gibbous and whatnot phases. But the fact is that at full moon, she is really reflecting the fullness of the sun that is opposite her. So again, it's that polarizing energy of signs opposing one another, where they feel like they're taking things from very different places and they are responding to things in very different ways, but they're actually working on the same archetypal lessons. And in this this polarity, as I said earlier, of Gemini and Sagittarius. It's all about learning and being open-minded and trying new things. And it's also they're mutable signs. So it's time to be adaptable. It's time to try something different. If this isn't working, let me try something different. And Sagittarius's decisions around what to try might look different to Gemini's decisions about what to try. And yet, ultimately, it's to get to the same place. Like, how do I make this work better? And we've come out of this the previous new moon in Scorpio was very like intense. It was new moon. It was new Venus cycle, not Venus, Mercury cycle. It was a lot. And so now it's like, okay, we saw all the heavy stuff. We saw the sticking points. And we found the courage to go there, but now what can we change to make this work better? I also want to point out that this full moon is squaring the nodes, which is a very pertinent thing because the nodes link, they are the nodes of the moon that I'm referring to. And this is where the eclipse cycle is happening at any given time. So wherever the nodes are in the sky, and the nodes do move, they are a full cycle for the nodes is 18 years. So it's a slow cycle. The nodes move slowly and they move back. They only move retrograde backwards. But where the nodes are indicates where we're having eclipse cycles. And currently our eclipses are happening in Pisces season and Virgo season. Pisces and Virgos are the other two mutable signs to Gemini and Sagittarius, okay? So we're talking about the eclipses. They bring to us this karmic connection of what is it that I know? What is it that I can feel in my bones? What is it that I've done before? That's the South Node. And what is it that I need to grow into? What is it that I need to learn, that I need to strive for, that I need to cultivate? That's the North Node. So if you were looking at your own chart, your personal connection would be in your own chart. Let's say you had your North Node in Scorpio and your South Node in Taurus. You're coming from a Taurus place and you're growing and you get Taurus. You've done Taurus before. You've worked on those things. That's your karma. And then the Scorpio is a lot of your dharma, like how your soul your evolutionary soul's journey. So that's what you would look at in your personal chart. But then if this is not your nodal axis, then you actually want to go, okay, well, it's not my personal Dharma karma, but at the moment, the collective Dharma karma lessons are happening here. So what do I have here? What do I have going on here? Do you have anything in Virgo? Do you have anything in Pisces? You may or may not have planets there, but then look to Gemini and Sag. Do I have anything there? Because when we're looking at mutable sign stuff, we would look at, have I got anything conjunct? So let's say like now, the North Node in Pisces. Do I have anything conjunct Pisces North Node with Pisces North Node? Do I have anything opposite in Virgo? Do I have anything squaring that in Sagittarius or Gemini? And even if you have no planets or points in any of these four mutable signs, you have got that space in your life. So, for example, imagining that this chart was your birth chart, and right now you've got the South Node in Virgo, but there's nothing else going on here. There's nothing else happening in Virgo for you. So it's like, well, then does it matter? Yes, it does. It's in your 12th house. So what's happening in your 12th house? What do you need to release from your 12th house? Where are you becoming self-sabotaging? Where are your enemies hiding? Do you have enemies that are hiding? Like, there's a lot we could say about that. But my point is, if you have planets there, it's extra pertinent to you. If you don't, it still impacts you. So astrology is a nuanced, multivalent language portal into different parts of yourself. And you'll never understand it all at once, and you'll probably never understand it all. I certainly won't. So it's too complicated. There's too many different house systems, too many different styles of astrology. For me, it's a permission slip to not even try. Don't even try to understand it all at once. Notice what feels resonant for you now. Come from where you're at, like notice where your feet are. This is where you're learning from right now. These are the lessons you can absorb right now. And that is enough. It doesn't have to be everything. It can just be those tiny component parts. And actually, under this Gemini full moon, I think that's an important detail because Mercury is detail oriented. Mercury is about small trips, small ideas. Lots of small ideas make big ideas, small connection, passing messages, emailing, WhatsApping, like whatever that comes to. Those little details, those small connections, that is what Mercury speaks about in so many different ways. And so this full moon is square the nodes. So we are right in the middle of the last eclipse season and the next eclipse season, which are about 6 months apart. So we're 3 months from the last and 3 months to the next. And so it's also going to be churning up. In fact, the point that is in the middle, like I'm talking about, is called in the bends of the nodes. And so there is a real strong tug of war coming back to what I said earlier about mutable. I was talking about how Gemini is a mutable sign, mutable air, and Sag is a mutable fire, might have different ideas of how to make the change, but their idea to make the changes for the better is the same, even though they're looking for the same, they're working towards the same goal. They're looking for a similar result, but they have different ways of wanting to get there. Now, because we are square the nodes, if you add the nodal signs, which at the moment are Virgo and Pisces, you have two other mutable signs. You have Virgo, mutable earth, and Pisces, mutable water, agreeing. Yes, Gemini and Sagittarius, we agree. We do need to change something. Let's do it. And mutable earth says, let's do it by writing a lot of lists and making sure we've got all the details accounted for and do the things we need to do every single day. Take your vitamins and tick things off your list every day. It's very important to do this. It's very important. And Pisces goes, I think we need to be a little bit more mellow, a little more in creative flow. We need to soften our focus, not hyper focus, because that's how we're going to get these ideas channeled into us. So then we can get all creative and make the changes. And in the meantime, Gemini is laughing and saying, you two don't get it. What we need to do is we need to talk to people. We need to get lots of ideas. We need to get lots of opinions. We need to do the research. We need to make these connections. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And then Sagittarius is saying, I think the best thing to do would be if we travel around the world to other areas and other cultures and we see what's worked in other countries and in other religions and where other people have had this across history. And so they're all striving for the same goal, but they want to do it differently. In an ideal world, we could just see these parts of ourselves as each having a job to do. Go do it your way. Everybody go do it your way. We'll meet in 2 weeks and we'll see what we see. It's interesting that I said 2 weeks because that would take us to the Sagittarius new moon. And it just popped out of my mouth, which is oftentimes how channeling works. So let's think about it if that's come through, that we will take these 2 weeks from the Gemini full moon to the Sagittarius new moon to let our pedantic Virgo internal part write as many lists as they want and try to be as perfect as you want and try to make things fit, fold the clothes to pack for a holiday and whatever. Let's let Pisces relax. Watch the waves rolling on your ocean holiday. If you get to go to the beach for the holiday, I'm lucky enough to live by the sea. And just be under the sun and let ideas roll through while I go into soft focus. Let part of yourself do that. Let Gemini communicate, be curious, play imaginary games, do puzzles, and in that, let solutions come together. Let Sagittarius explore different cuisines and different belief systems and all the things Sagittarius wants to do. And when we get to the Sagittarius new moon, 2 weeks from this, what intentions can we then set about how we can be a little more adaptable and a little more open to change and a little more curious? Because it's going to look different. It's going to look different. And yeah, who knows how that's going to look for us? I think it will be obviously different for each of us, but you might find that some of those parts, some of those mutable parts of your personality will be easier to manage. Maybe you will feel more comfortable with them than you will be with others. Maybe some of them will be full of ideas and other parts of you won't. Maybe you'll think, I really do need to relax. That's what I'm going to do. And then you just can't. So play with these ideas. Get curious. I mean, this is not a black and white kind of thing. This is a be open to change and let that show up for you in unexpected ways. And maybe that is the key. Let it be unexpected. Don't try to control everything, because mutable signs, they don't really want to control so much. They want to explore. They want to expand their horizons. They want to be open to something new. And we need that in this day and age with all the things going on right now. It's really important that we open to change. And it's not easy. Change is not comfortable for us. And when we hit a mutable full moon, we've just come from fixed energy, and fixed energy does not like change. Fixed energy resists change, digs their heels in. And each of these things has a time and a place. But if we work with the energy, then if we get to this point, even if you're a very fixed person and then you get into a mutable cycle like this, you can say, okay, I know that I'm like grabbing onto things with clenched fist and white knuckles to hold tight to what feels secure and safe for me. But I also know that nothing is forever and I need to be more open to change. Use this cycle. If you're somebody who's great with change, then be like, wow, well, I like change. So let me get a little bit creative with it. Let me think outside my normal change box. There's many ways you can play with it depending on who you are and your personality. And if you would like a personal reading, and we can find some tools that will work more pertinently and personally to you, that is definitely something that I can do. Check out the links below. But yeah, I hope that this full moon is illuminating and gives you some fun, creative ideas of just playing with the energy that is quite heavy at the moment for a lot of us. And you can't change what's going on in the world in a way that is really obvious and tangible in this moment, in this day. I mean, unless maybe you're the president of a country or something. Most of us don't have that kind of clout to make enough difference immediately, but that doesn't mean you're not making a difference. Any way that you start to grow and flow and thrive within yourself, we are all connected. So don't feed the fear, feed the love, and feed the curiosity, and feed the creativity, and feed the hope, and feed the excitement about what this change may usher in for us, and see what happens. See what happens. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to being back with you soon for the Sagittarius new moon.